Hi students, I am G. Balasaranya, Assistant Professor in Computer Science Department. Today my topic is Entity Relationship Model. Entity Relationship Model. Next. So before entering into this Entity Relationship Model, we have to know about what is data. So already we have learned what is data. Data is unprocessed raw fact. So it is raw fact. Data is raw fact. So that is, for example, if you are a student, you have some database, like we are going to maintain a database for you, means what are the data you are going to collect. So data means your roll number, and then your name, your age, your phone number. So these are all the data. So this is a data. So what is information next? So information is, if you process some data, it will be an information. So for example, BCom CA. So BCom CA is a one department. So inside the 2021, so it is one data. So in 2021 batch, so what are the, how many number of students? So it is some 130 students around that. So this is called your information. If you process the data, you will get information. So after that, what is database? So database means I am going to save my data and process the data inside that. So I will get some information. So for saving your data, we need some models. So what are the models? So see here, this is data model in DBMS. So what it is means, data model is a logical structure of a database. So logical structure. So how you are going to save your data in the computer. So with the help of any database languages like SQL or Oracle. So are there any other model? So we have many models inside this. So it describes just the design of a database, how you are going to design. So I want to keep your personal details alone in a table, or I can make use of personal details plus your mock details. So it is my own design, so I can design. Without repetition, we want to design the data. So that is, it describes the design of a database. So what it reflects means, it reflects the entities, attributes, and then relationship between the tables present in the database. So these are the data models. This is the definition for data models in DBMS. Next, so you have many types of database models. So data models, first is the object based logical models. So it relates to the, it describes the data at the conceptual level only. So in detail we will see. So before that, the examples are ER model, ER, entity relationship model, and object oriented model. That is the example for object based model. And next comes the record based logical models. So record based. So record means, if you, for example, if you are using a student table, means that student, one particular student is a record. So record by record, I am using the data. So I am searching the data and I am processing the information, means, so that is record based database model. So example, relational model and hierarchical model and then network model. These are the examples comes under this. So inside the relational model, we are using Oracle, SQL, like many other database models are there. So database applications are there. So with the help of that applications, we are creating a database. So and using and accessing and information, getting information from the database. So this is record based model. And next is your physical data model. So physical data model means how it is saved inside the table. So that is, it describes the lowest level of abstraction. So how you are going to save inside the table, or with the help of a record, or it is an attribute. So how you are designing your database comes under the physical database model. So with the help of the primary key, foreign key, what is primary key means? So in order to identify a particular student from a database, we are giving a register number as a primary key, so to avoid duplicates. So repeatedly we can save the data. So we can't identify which student we have saved, which student we cannot save. So with the help of that primary key, if you are giving again the same information, it avoids the primary key details. And next, we are going to the entity relationship model. So this is my topic, entity relationship model. So what it is means, entity, it describes the structure of the database. So you are going to define a database and the structure is designed with the help of a diagram. So diagrammatic model. So it is called entity relationship diagram. So that is ER diagram we are saying. So with the help of a diagram, you are going to discuss the database structure, and this is called entity relationship diagram. Before getting into the entity relationship diagram, we should know what is an entity. So see this, entity means it is an object. So entity is an object. For example, you are going to maintain a library means, so you have books as an entity. So book issue is an entity, and also book you are going to segregate in department means, so department wise books, or staff you are going to take books means, so staff details you have to maintain. So each and everything, not in a single table you cannot maintain, so you have to maintain in many different tables or many different entities or many different objects you can say. So that is an object. So entity is an object. So that is a component of a data. And next, entity set. Entity set means it is a collection of similar entities. So you have many entities out there, and so it is if you are collecting a similar entity, it is a entity set. So not only the entity, next you have to know what it is attribute. So attribute. So attribute means you want to define an entity. So you want to define it. For example, you are going to define a book entity. So book entity contains what is the title of the book, and what is the ISBN number, what is the cost, and what is the author of the book, when it is published. So you have what is the edition. So you have many other details. So you have to define all the entities, all the attributes. So with the help of the attributes, you are defining a particular entity. So that is called attribute. So if you combine all the entities and the attributes, and with the help of a relationship, you are giving an entity. You are defining a database. So it is called entity relationship diagram. It tells what is the sketch. That is, you are going to design a database. So designing, you are giving a diagrammatic representation. See, this is a sample for ER model. So if this is the student entity. Student is an entity. You are going to represent it in a rectangular shape. So rectangular shape represents the entity. Inside that you have to give an entity name. Here college is also one more entity you have. So that is also in rectangular mode. So this is one entity, and the college is another entity. And next, these three things constitute an attribute. What are the three things means? Student ID. So every student present inside a campus should have an student ID. So that will be your major entity here, and then student name and student address. Many more attributes are there, but here I am defining only these three things. So student ID, student name, and student address. These three things are attributes of the student entity. And next is the college entity. College entity should have college ID and college name, address and all we are not mentioned here. So I need these details two alone. So I have given only these two. So what is the relationship between the student entity and college entity here? So that is represented in a diamond shape. So that is study in. So the student is studying in a college. So this is the relationship given here. This is one sample ER model. So next, so already we have discussed. So what are the components of ER diagram? So ER diagram, entity relationship model. Inside that we have only three components. The three components are entity. So inside the entity we have weak entities also there. I will explain later. Next one is attribute. So attributes are different types of attributes you have. You have four types of attributes. One is key attribute, and next is composite, and third one is multi-valued, and next derived. And relationship also you have many cardinalities present inside the relationship, that is how it is related to other entity. So between the entity you have one-to-one relationship, or one-to-many relationship, or many-to-one relationship, or many-to-many relationship. So these are the components present in the entity relationship diagram. And the symbols used to represent the ER diagram is, so first one is rectangle. Rectangle represents the entity. And ellipse is used for attributes, and diamond shape represents the relationship set. And next, lines are used to link the relationship, so between the entity and the relationship set. What are the relationship between the entities? So you are going to link with that, so that the lines represent it. And next, double ellipse. Double ellipse represents the multi-valued attributes, and dashed ellipse means derived attributes. In detail we will see in the next slide. Double rectangle is called a weak entity set, and double lines if you use means total participation of an entity in a relationship set. And next, first entity. In detail we are going to see now. What is an entity? I already told entity is an object. So if it is an object, it tells about the object, so that is entity. So it is represented by the symbol rectangle. So rectangle represents entity. So entity is nothing but object, I already told you. So if I am going to maintain department details, means department is one entity. So inside the department we have many details. So inside the department we can use a library, means library details. So next after that we will do many record maintenance, achievement records, and next many placement records. So all these things. So everything I cannot split into a single database. I will split that into a database. So that is the entity. So entity is nothing but you are maintaining it in a table. So that is an object. Here one diagram is given. See here, this is the student entity and college is another entity. What is the relationship between the student and colleges? They are studying in the college. So this is one. So here what is the relationship is also mentioned here, that is cardinality. So one college has many students. So many to one relationship is maintaining in this college. So this is called entity. And one more thing, weak entity set. So what is weak entity set means? See here, I am student entity and college entity. So these are the main entities. They are not all dependent. They are dependent only on the relationship study, but not here. See, look here. Room is one entity and building is one entity, means room should be present inside the building. So there is this is not a dependent entity. Room is not a independent entity. It is a dependent on the building. So that is called weak entity. So you should represent it in a double lined rectangle. So one more example is tire. So tire you cannot mention it as a single one. So if it is a two-wheeler, you have to give a two tire. So what is the tire shape and what is the thickness of the tire? So all these things. Likewise, if it is a car, means you have to use a four wheels. So what is the number of thickness used, unlike that. So it is not a independent one. So tire depends upon the what is the vehicle used, like that. So here it is a weak entity set. And next is the attribute. So attribute means it represents, it is the property of the entity. So it is the property of the entity, how you are going to describe the entity, that is the attribute. So attribute is represented by oval symbol. We have four types of attributes we have already seen in the previous slide. So first is the key attribute. Key attribute. So key attribute means it represents the key attribute represents the roll number. For example, you are going to enter the student details, means that time what you have to do is each and every student you are going to enter. So the same person has the same name, same date of birth also sometimes. So you cannot identify which student is which particular record it is. So for that duplication and repetition of data error, what you are going to do is the roll number. If you give roll number, the person can easily identify the attribute. So that is the key attribute. So in order to, for example, bank account. So account details will not be repeated for any other person. So you can identify a person with the help of that key attribute. And next is the composite attribute. Composite attribute is nothing but, see here, address. So in address we can split the address into pin code number, state, street number, country number. So this time what happens, only one attribute. So that attribute is split into many other attributes. So that is your key attribute, composite attribute. And next, see here, multi-valued attribute. So multi-valued attribute means, example, phone number. So for a particular student you have more than one phone number. So that time you have this phone number as a multi-valued. You have to use the double ellipse. And next is the derived attribute. Derived attribute means, you can see this is the derived attribute. You have to represent it with a dash. So age, you can calculate from another attribute called the date of birth. So from the date of birth you can derive it, you can get the age. So this is called derived attribute. And next is the relationship. So relationship tells what is called how you are going to relate to an entity from another entity. So for example, here one-to-one relationship. So one person can acquire only one passport. So that is one-to-one relationship. one to many relationship. So one customer can place many orders. So that is one example. So I can place many orders to a particular company. So that is one to many. And next, a student can study in a college. So that is many to one relationship. And at last, many to many relationship. I am assigning one project to many students. So that is many students are assigned to many projects. So these are the concepts regarding entity relationship diagram. Thank you.